So it was Visenya Targaryen, one of my favourite Targaryens, who created the institution that is the Kingsguard. And yeah, I'm going to tell you this story if you don't already know it. So Aegon's conquest, it was a success, right? I mean, with the exception of Dawn, he'd done what he wanted to do. He was the new king, and Visenya and Rhaenys were his queens, and his sisters, and his wives. Say it with me. Targ's gonna Targ. But just because he had been successful for the most part in his conquest, it didn't mean that Aegon did not have enemies. And if we go to the world of ice and fire, so if we refer to, say it with me, the Bible, the world of ice and fire, I can't not say that. It describes what things were like. The death of Rhaenys, the years of the dragon's wrath, the murdered lords, the would-be assassins in King's Landing, and the Red Keep itself. It was a black time. But out of all the tragedy was born one glorious thing, the sworn brotherhood of the Kingsguard. What prompted this was Visenya and Aegon were attacked in King's Landing, and it says here, if it wasn't for Visenya, then who knows what would have happened. It was only Visenya and Dark's sister, her Valyrian steel sword, that saved the king. Now Aegon thought, it's okay, it was a one-off. My guards that I have, that's enough, that's sufficient. And Visenya is like, no, that's not the case at all. And she proves her point. This is how the story goes. It is recorded that when Aegon pointed out his guardsman, Visenya drew Dark's sister and cut his cheek before his guards could react. Your guards are slow and lazy, Visenya is reported to have said, and the king was forced to agree. She showed up, these guards, and I'm sure they had the best of intentions, but they were not quick enough and they did not understand the nature of protecting a king. It was different now. Aegon wasn't just a lord of Dragonstone, he was king now, and it meant you're going to have to protect him in different ways. You've got to be really quick, you've got to be sharp, you've got to be ready for anything. So it was Visenya who said, we need a real institution, a proper unit dedicated to protecting the king. 7 champions for the Lord of the 7 Kingdoms, who would all be knights, and Visenya modelled their vows upon those of the Night's Watch. They would forfeit all things save their duty to the king. So any inheritance, any titles, any land, anything that you would have, your family name, you give it all up, and all that matters now is you serving the monarch. But how do you pick the very first Kingsguard? Where do you begin? And Aegon said, let's have a tourney and we'll get the best 7 from that. And Visenya is like, are you serious? No, we're not having a tourney. Just because somebody is good in a tourney doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be good in one-to-one combat. It's a different skill set. You want to know that your Kingsguard are ready. Like, it's all fine and well riding on a horse in like a competition where the stakes are not life and death necessarily. It's different if you're protecting the monarch and then somebody comes in and tries to attack them. So you've got to think about what skills that person will need. And it's not tourney skills. Yes, you need to be quick, you need to be talented, but you also need to have unwavering loyalty. So Aegon trusts Visenya with this task. He gives her the responsibility. You pick the first 7. I know you'll pick the right people. And that speaks volumes about Visenya and what Aegon thought of her. And it's part of why I love her. And even the histories credit Visenya and say Aegon was wise for giving her this job of finding the 7. 2 of them died defending the Conqueror and all served to the end of their days with honour. Now, an interesting little fact, little tidbit is the very first Lord Commander of the Kingsguard was actually Sir Corlys of House Velaryon. Not the sea snake, not that Lord Corlys, but that is who he was named after. Now, if we skip over to Fire and Blood, we get a little bit more information about how this whole process unfolded and how the Brotherhood of 7 Knights were going to be the finest in the realm, cloaked and armoured, all in purest white, with no purpose but to defend the king, giving up their own lives for his if needs be. It says right here that the life you're going to live is a life of chastity and obedience with no reward but honour. And a lot of people put themselves forward for this. And Visenya cast the net wide. She was really open-minded. She didn't just pick the sons of highborn lords or people who were well connected. She was like, we are going to look at everybody because I want the best. Doesn't matter if you're highborn or if you're a commoner. And the names of the first 7 Kingsguard written in the White Book are Sir Richard Root, Sir Addison Hill, Bastard of Cornfield, Sir Gregor Good, Sir Griffith Good, his brother, Sir Humphrey the Mummer, Sir Robin Darklin, called Dark Robin, and Sir Corlys Velaryon, Lord Commander. These first 7, they set the tone. This was going to be an example of what the Kingsguard was going to be. And Fire and Blood states that the Kingsguard remains a synonym for honour to this day. This is the institution that Visenya created, and she wanted to get it right because the job was the most important job. Like, what can be more important than protecting the life of the king? And she wanted to make sure that they got the best of the best, the right people who were there for the right reasons, and that if needs be, they could be counted upon. You have a split second to react. It doesn't matter if you're good in attorney. You need to be able to go like man to man, like in an alleyway or, you know, somewhere like that. You need to be expecting the unexpected. It doesn't matter if you're young, you're old, no one cares. As long as you have the skills and you have the loyalty. And the Kingsguard is just one of the many things that I don't feel Visenya Targaryen gets enough credit for.